What's happening, roadies? This is Pete Shapiro.
This is Sue Anello.
What's happening, roadies? This is Henny Tha Bizness, and you're listening to Roadie Free Radio.
What's up, roadies? My name is Larry Milburn, and this is Roadie Free Radio, your VIP pass to meet and greet the stars behind the scenes of the music and film business. Oh, what's happening, roadies, and happy New Year. Welcome to Roadie Free Radio. This is your host, Larry Milburn. I'm coming at you from a barn in northwestern Connecticut. Northwest Connecticut. I'm coming at you from a barn, man, and it's in Northwest Connecticut. What is going on? Happy New Year to you. Depending on when you're listening to this episode, it's either New Year's Eve, which is when it was released, or if you're in the future, it's already 2019. Whenever the hell it is, Happy New Year to you. I hope you are well. I hope you had a fantastic New Year's and Christmas celebration, if that's what you do, if that's your thing. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you just in general, guys, for always tuning in, being a part of this experience, being a part of this community, and helping me week in and week out to bring out these amazing stories. I've got the passion to do this show, but I got to tell you, without your support, there would be no point in doing the show. I've been seeing some folks. You've been kind enough to share the show on Facebook and whatnot and give me a shout out here and there. Folks are asking for, hey, what's a cool podcast? And I've seen you posting some stuff like check out Larry's show. That means the fucking world to me, and I want you to know that. So thank you for that. It's been a great ride, man. We've had an awesome time, 116 episodes over the last 2.5 years. I got a lot of big plans. I got a lot of big plans, man. And I want to try to just keep my head down for this next year and just start implementing some of those plans. So stay tuned. Enjoy the ride with us. I think last year I had some resolutions. This year it's not about resolutions. The resolution is basically all of it. I want all of it. I want to just do more. Just keep going, keep crushing every day, hustling and grinding, more podcasts, more filmmaking stuff, more family time, more losing weight, more, spending time with the kid, all of that stuff, and just making it happen. So that's my focus for 2019. If you've got something stellar you want to share, I want to hear it. Let me know. info@roadiefreeradio.com. If you have some guests for 2019 that you're like, you know what, I've been meaning to write Larry and let him know he's got to have this person on, info@roadiefreeradio.com. That's where you find me. Let me know who you want me to have on the show, and by golly, we'll get them on. Listen, thank you so much for all of your feedback and whatnot on last week's episode with Leo Beatty. Great guy, great stuff, a great period in rock music. Go back and check out episode 115 if you missed it. And if you missed it, then you might not know we have a brand new sponsor, Stagehands Clothing, folks, based out of Chicago. This is a husband and wife team. They've created the one-stop shop for backstage professionals who are always working hard behind the scenes and count on high-quality, durable workwear. They got everything from men's and women's apparel, plenty of super cool gear as well to keep you ready for the next task. Use the code ROADIE. That's ROADIE, ROADIE. Get yourself 20% off your entire order. Stagehandsclothing.com. Check them out, man. Okay, let's get into this. All right, it's been a crazy last 10 days or so, and in the midst of that, I managed to grab this interview with today's guest, Justin Henny Tha Bizness Henderson. Oh my God, I discovered this guy about 6 months ago. It's about 6 months ago. On YouTube. I like watching YouTube videos. I kind of consider myself a YouTuber, as you know, as well. But I caught one of his videos and I was immediately struck. And we talk about it in the beginning of this interview because I was just so floored by his honesty and his personality. And there was also something about him that I thought, this guy and I, we would have a good time together. There's something I don't know what it was, man. You just sort of meet people, you see people like, I could hang with that guy. And that's how I feel about Justin here. He's a really very sweet guy. He's also a Grammy-winning multi-platinum producer, songwriter, and beat maker. Okay, don't know if I've said that yet. He's got a Grammy. He's worked with Drake, Chris Brown, Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z, Black Eyed Peas, Young Jeezy, R. Kelly. The guy's put his time in down in Atlanta, from Seattle originally. We get into a lot of that, but his story, there were pieces that I thought were missing in his YouTube collection, let's say, that he was putting out about his story, just like a couple of missing things. And we get into it. We get into the rise and fall of Henny Tha Bizness and his eventual re-rise, if you will. And it's awesome, man. It is really great. We had a great talk, and I couldn't be more happy and proud to be bringing this episode out on New Year's. I think you will all find it equally inspiring as well. He also happens to be at the forefront of iPad technology, I guess iPad music, digital music creation using the iPad. Whoa, I just pulled that right out of my ass. All of that whole section. Digital music creation using the iPad and some peripherals. So watch his videos if you want to find a way to just pare down your gear. If you're a creator, he's got it, man. He's got it figured out. And so I'm going to give you another sponsor here that can help if you are looking for Bluetooth, foot pedal controllers or portable mic stands and whatnot. Check out airturn.com. They've been a sponsor of this show for at least the last year and a half, possibly 2 years. I use the AirTurn Go Stand, which is a full-size boom stand that collapses down to half its size. Since 2008, they have been manufacturing wireless products such as Bluetooth pedals and multifunction remotes, supporting hundreds of thousands of customers in over 40 countries. They have a wide range of products to choose from, including the AirTurn Go Stand, as I just mentioned, one of the best portable mic stands on the market. I use it on this show on a regular basis. Head over to airturn.com. Use the code RODY over there. I already told you how to spell it. You can get 20% off your order there as well. That's RODY at airturn.com. You get yourself 20% off. Okay, so here we go. Here it is. The man himself bringing us into 2019, Justin Henny Tha Bizness Henderson.
Hit it. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie.
Henny, dude, I gotta tell you, it's so weird seeing you in that position because I'm usually watching your videos in that position.
Okay,
but you're talking back to me now.
Hey, that's how we do it.
Happy holidays.
Yes, sir.
Happy New Year to you.
Right on. You as well.
And I cannot thank you enough. I know you are a busy, busy guy. And taking time to be on the show with me really means a lot, I got to tell you. So respect to you. And,
yes,
and thank you, man.
No doubt. No doubt. It's all good.
All right, dude. Let's jump into this. Let me just give a little pre-love to you here. So I don't know how it was I caught one of your videos. But I'm a big Peter McKinnon fan, and you know, Matt. I watch Matt D'Avella, and somehow one of your things popped up, and from the first video, I was struck. I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy? This guy is awesome!"
Right.
It was the energy, the authenticity. Let alone the fact that you were trying to do everything on your iPad, which we'll get to. And by the way, actually, no, we'll get to a little bit of that now. I want you to know you so inspired me that I got my iPad Air. I reached out.
Yes.
I reached out to my live sound peeps, and I found out what's a good, because a lot of times, like when I do the podcast, when I do this, I'm obviously in the studio. I do my intro in the studio. Right. A lot of times, I'm at AES or I'm on the road or something. I don't want to bring my whole laptop and a whole thing. And I started watching your stuff, and I was like, well, how can I do it on the iPad? And is there a good DAW interface? That was the thing. Right. It's more that look of like what feels like. An Audition or Pro Tools or something. So some folks hit me back with Cubasis. Yeah. And then, of course, I found you had a video, and I had to watch that one. I was like, all right. So I want you to know, man.
You're rocking a Cubasis.
I got my dongles.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I got my dongles. I use my focus right. 2i2 Scarlet.
2i2. Yeah.
And we'll see. Maybe if I have time, maybe I'll cut this episode on the iPad just to bring it all the love.
Hey, right on.
But it's good, man. No, that thing's super cool. It's been fun to be able to figure out, like, okay, I can travel super lightweight now.
Yeah, that's the main objective. Yeah.
So I watched that first video, and I don't even remember which one it was, but then I just went down the Henny rabbit hole. I was just in deep. It's your personality. It's the energy. It's the I think I wrote you right after the first one.
Okay. Yeah.
In a comment, and I was like, you got to be on the show.
Okay, right on.
For several reasons, and we're going to get to most of them, I hope, and that is, this whole new thing for you that is YouTube.
Yeah.
Sharing this new way of working and how it can be done in this minimalist way.
Right.
Your journey as a producer.
Yeah.
And how it seems to have kind of splintered into all these things. It was very focused, right? You got the Grammy and all the success, the keys to the city and everything, and then it splintered off. So I want to get to all that. But then there was another level of your videos that really struck me, and it was one, and I tried to find it this morning so I could watch it again to get like...
It's all good, yeah.
Right? You're in like a tank top, and I think it's like 3 a.m. And you said something like... Yeah, it's like 3 a.m. I got to get these kids. I'm a dad too. I got a 3-year-old, so I'd get it.
Right on.
And you just like poured your heart out.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this dude is off the chain. So.
Oh yeah, no, I know that one. Yeah. What's the title? It slips my mind, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
And then obviously I had no idea that you and Diavella, had connected previously. So when I saw his episode come up with you, I was like, damn it, he got to me first.
Yeah, I actually hit him up because I was like, I'd love to be on his show. So, you know how it works. Right.
Yeah, no, totally, man. So that's just a way of giving you some love right off the bat. And you've inspired me. I've pulled back from doing videos on my channel right now because I haven't found the groove of what I want to do there, right? So... Right. But I'm going to get back to YouTube this January. I'm getting my stuff. I got a little studio I'm working on over here. Okay. And I'm getting things together. I'm going to come back out and start doing some more stuff.
Good shit.
So thank you for the kick in the ass. So are you in Atlanta or are you in Seattle?
I'm in Atlanta. I've been here for almost 11 years since. Yeah, I was in Atlanta here after I graduated high school. I went to Morehouse College down here.
Right.
Then after I graduated, then I went to LA for 6 years, and that's when I started my career.
Okay.
And then from there, I moved back when I got married, and I've been here ever since for 11 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's take it back. Let's take it back to growing up, your family. Tell me about family life growing up, and big family, small family. You seem like you probably have a big family.
Medium size. I'm the middle of 3 boys. My parents are both from North Carolina. And we have a huge family in North Carolina, but, just our family was just a family of 5.
Yeah.
And my dad worked for a company called Weyerhaeuser and worked there for over 40 years, retired there maybe five years ago. But he moved us out to a suburb outside in between Seattle and Tacoma, Washington, called Federal Way. And that's basically when I was 2 years old. And then my younger brother was born in Seattle. And we were basically raised there. It was very, I would say, very Huxtable-ish, if you could say, a very good upbringing, middle class. And, it was good. It was, very involved in school. I was very involved in Boy Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout. I was very involved in the church and sports. So yeah, it was a very well balanced upbringing, and it just kind of I pat my mom on the back. She was a stay-at-home mom, and she was on our ass nonstop, and so raised us all right. And by luck have it, me and all my brothers, we all live down here. We all have a boy and a girl. We all got married at 27. And we're all doing very well in our field. So, a shout out to my parents for holding it down. So, that's that. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So what When did the music thing start? By the way, I know you're a man of faith. I know, the church plays a big role in your family and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I can tell by the little things that you play, just in you're sort of
progressions.
sampling in your videos.
Yeah.
You can just hear it in the
Right.
in the tones and the sound. Like, oh man. So when did music start creeping into your brain? Was it the church? Was it just in the house?
No, it was. Honestly, it was like 91, 92, like 11, 12 years old. And like, my mom could tell you I loved music since I was a kid. I always had all the instruments. I always asked for the instruments as a kid. But it was like when I saw Belle Biv DeVoe in the Poison video, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to sit on top of the basketball hoop and be a rapper. So that initially was it. And I love Boys to Men, and I love like the whole New Jack Swing. And so like a lot of my sound, like the synths and the bass sounds, and like Teddy Riley was a huge inspiration for me. Like just New Jack Swing in general, Babyface, like. That was it when I was like 13. And then I got into like Snoop and West Coast music heavily, and very into hip hop. And then it wasn't until like, I would say 15, I started to really get more involved in my church choir. And my mom let me get a keyboard after I broke as many damn instruments as she would buy me. She was like, better not break this one. And that's the only one that kind of stuck with me was the keyboard. And so I started trying to figure out how to make songs for the church choir, my youth church choir. And did a couple songs. Somebody saw me in the crowd, wanted to give me lessons. And that kind of just gave me enough to be able to give me chord progressions and learn ear theory of gospel music. And that's kind of like how it built my faith up. But I was just still really tied to secular music. So, that's kind of how it came together. Yeah.
So you're like 10, 11 years old, 91. So you're born in 80?
79.
79.
My birthday's, Christmas Eve. My birthday's in a few days.
Oh, man, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Wow, well, happy belated birthday.
Okay, right on.
Happy belated birthday, man. And so, all right, so I'm like, I got you by like 8 years. I'm 71.
Okay, right on.
So 91... 90, like that zone, that 90 to 94 zone, we'll call it, right? That was a ripe period. That was a ripe period in Seattle.
Hell yeah.
What was going on in Seattle that wasn't the grunge scene? And I know, it got over commercialized and whatnot. So there was probably a lot of other shit going on. But like, what was happening? Was there a hip hop scene up there you could be a part of and you could plug into quickly? Or were you sourcing it out of, San Francisco, LA and all that?
It wasn't. I mean, you had like guys like Sir Mix-a-Lot, and he was like the staple big guy who made it from the city. But it wasn't. Well, I was young then, so it wasn't like I knew how to get into the scene. By the time I was able to get into the scene, I had moved to Atlanta for college, and I got into the scene here, and that's just kind of how it transitioned. But like the early '90s, it was so heavily alternative grunge, it was such a overwhelming thing that it was like I loved it, but I hated it because I wanted to hear more hip hop on the radio and they just weren't playing it.
Sure.
And so like I would, I'd find my brother's tapes. He's 5 years older than I am. And I would get into like Eazy-E and NWA, and that's what I kind of like. That was the stuff that he was into, and so and a lot of East Coast stuff. And so that's kind of like how I just got into hip hop heavy, was just listening to what my brother had, his tapes.
Sure.
So yeah.
And why Atlanta? Because I know also. So if you're talking like 90, when was Atlanta for you? 90.
98.
98. That was a big time for Atlanta. Boom.
Yeah.
Right? The music industry. Because I remember I moved out to LA in 94 and people were talking about moving to Atlanta at that time, 95, 96.
Right.
Why Atlanta? Why not New York, Brooklyn?
Well, my brother went to Morehouse first, right? And
Oh, right. 'Cause it was all centered around Morehouse. That's right.
yeah, so he went to college first, and he came back, and he would just show me all the stuff that was going on. It was just completely opposite from living in Federal Way, and I was just blown away in like 8th grade, and I was like, "Oh, that's where I'm going." And I didn't like apply for any other college. I was like, "I'm going there. That's it." And so when I got here, it just worked out, and the scene was really buzzing. And then you started really having a Southern hip hop like boom happen with like Outkast and like Cash Money and No Limit. And so it was huge down here. And I just kind of engulfed myself in it while I was here.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what'd you study in college?
Business management. I started out thinking I was going to do computer science, realizing that was going to take way too much damn time. And I went to business management because I knew I wanted to do music, but even before I left high school. Yeah,
you did. I imagine they had a lot of outlets there. Plus, you had the city.
Yeah, exactly.
At your disposal.
I had my dorm room. I had one keyboard. I had an Ensoniq ASR 10. I had a mic plugged into that, and a tape player that we would record demos, and I would do it for like $25. So I was like trying to figure out a way to make it a business at 19 years old. And then by the time it was like 20 years old, I had like a roll-in, what was it, the VS 880?
Yeah.
What was that? The kind of like the DAW.
Yeah.
And I would just start recording people in my dorm that moved into my apartment. And I was just kind of making it like a lifestyle. And I was meeting a whole lot of guys that were up and coming, that were rappers and producers and singers, songwriters. And, that's kind of how I started to get my name out there, was just bringing people to my dorm or bringing people to my apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
That's wild. Did you pop into any studios? Were there people, that could act as mentors for you, or were you just scrounging it out on your own?
I was trying my best. I actually got the opportunity to, there was like this Jermaine Dupri So Def talent search in like 99, 2000. And we submitted our tape. I had like 3 guys with 3 of my beats. And it was like 2 of the guys made it to the top 25. And I was like, oh, this is about to be it. I'm going to the top. And we actually got to the top, I think one of the finalists. And so his company reached out. So Def reached out to me and went into meetings and stuff. And at that same time, there was another film guy. It was a friend of my cousin. It was my cousin's husband's best friend, and he was a film director out in LA, and he heard my demo, and I just had a compilation of like guys rapping, singing, all the stuff that I would bring into my house. Yeah. I just made a CD of it and gave it to my cousin, and he wanted to sign me as a producer underneath him in LA to work on his movies with him. He was working on the movie Barbershop, movie 2 Can Play That Game, another movie called Hair Show. And it was so random, but that was my first deal that I signed in 2001.
Was that the thing? I read the thing on Wikipedia about it. Is that the thing through MySpace that someone found you?
No, that was Drake.
So that was
Drake found. Thing. Yeah. Drake found us through MySpace. After that started to happen. I don't know, when MySpace was booming, like 2004, 2000. Yeah. No, 2005, 2006. But this is like 99, 2000.
So what'd you start doing for that guy, for the barbershop guy?
So I initially was, he flew us out, and I remember it was like in between my junior and senior year of college. And he basically, he was telling us that, we were going to be a part of the soundtrack. I was going to help score the movie. It was such a mess. Like, it was like he basically signed me and all the talent that I had on my demo tapes. And he had us all in this one apartment. It was like the real world. And we were all living in LA in this one apartment. It had to have been 5 or 6 of us. And it was just ridiculous. And we were just recording in this hot ass. It was basically doing exactly what I was doing in Atlanta. Right. And it was amazing that summer, because that's when I met my wife, right? So wow. I'll give it all up to that. But the music was just horrible. I was creating horrible music because I was so stressed, because he had come down to Atlanta. He bought me like $25,000, $30,000 worth of equipment just on the spot. And I was blown away. And then he sat down and was like, okay, when am I going to get some music? And I was like, I don't know what the fuck like he bought me a Mac, he bought me a Triton, he bought me all types of equipment and board gear. And I'm like, dude, can I learn any of this stuff? And so it was like that whole summer, I was basically just trying to learn how to use this equipment while he was asking me to create some masterpieces, and it was just a shit show. So I was like, it was awful. But I mean, I learned a lot about just working under pressure, working with talent, and trying to get, just trying to please clients. So at the end of the day, I was signed to him for about 5 years, was able to get out of that deal. But he made me sign a contract that said that I would move to LA after I graduated college, and he would pay for at least 6 months of my rent. But I'd have to guarantee to stay there a year. So it was one of these random contracts beyond the contract that I signed, saying that I would stay there for at least a year and that I was going to be committed to working with him. And so, I got on my ass, and I started doing exactly what I knew how to do, bringing clients in, working in my 2-bedroom apartment in LA. So that's how I got my start out there as well. And it just kept building that way.
Where were you living?
I was living in Westchester, right by the airport.
Oh.
So I lived there for 4 years, and then I lived in Long Beach for a year right before me and my wife got married.
Nice. What was your wife doing? Was she in the business also?
No, so she was in school when I was in school, and then when she got out of school, she was a designer and a stylist, and so she was working for this lady, big-time designer, stylist lady in LA, and then when we got married, she just kind of through with all that. She was ready to move. Right, I didn't think I was ever going to move from LA. She's born and raised in LA, so I was like, we'll see. And then she was like, "Can we just move to Atlanta and maybe get some property?" Yes, right there with my brothers. Let's go. So
let's do this.
And it was like 2007. The market just dropped, and the housing market was crazy. You could get houses for super cheap.
Yeah.
So we came down and got a house built, and we've been in this house ever since. And so like it was just one of those things to where she transitioned from being a stylist to now she's an interior designer. So
nice.
So it's been a great transition for her as well.
She helped you set up the YouTube studio there?
A little bit. She complains a lot about my randomness back here, but and taking the whole loft and turning it into a space. But I gave up my studio for my daughter, so it was a good trade off.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, now I understand. After watching your studio tour the other day, I understand when you say, like, my family can hear me up here yelling and screaming and warming up, because I could see that staircase going down. Like, you probably light up the house screaming up there, right?
I just try to make sure I do it in the afternoons while they're not here. Yeah, right. Loud. I get pumped up. Yeah.
I know, man. It's awesome. Yeah. You talk a lot about on the show or your show, whatever, your videos, you talk a lot about putting in the work, staying in it, doing it. Are you surprised, doing it and then good things will happen?
Right.
A lot of times good things don't happen, right? Because for every one of you that's been a success story, as you know, there's a lot of guys and girls that it just doesn't happen.
True.
Are you surprised by where some of the opportunities have come from?
Definitely. I mean, there's always those random moments where you didn't know where the hell it came from. And I just attribute to God and just doing the right things. Part of my strategy for this year. So to take you back a little bit from my YouTube, like last year, when I started with the iPad, I was like, the only way to do this and get, notoriety is just to make videos and be as entertaining as possible. And I thought Instagram would be the perfect way to just get my name out there. And what I realized was people loved me talking about what I do just as much or even more than they like watching me what I do,
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I did all these adventures in beat making, all these things all last year. Let me try to switch it up and try to make good decisions and just give it to the people, give it all the way free. And not worry about, do this master class or everybody was in my ear about trying to make money quick. Yeah. And I was like, the money will come. Let's just try to figure this shit out. And there's been so many random things that happen, or you do something and then somebody else hears you and then something else happens, and, you know, it spirals. And a lot of my career has been that way, where it's random, something happens, and next thing you know, it's just a complete blessing. So yeah, it's been good. It's been
awesome.
good. It's been random, but it's been good for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, because there's you know, for folks that watch your channel, maybe they got this part, I didn't get it. I thought I feel like maybe I missed a video where you sort of explained, but I know you talk about the moment at Fogo de Chao when you win the Grammy. You had no idea you were going to get it. You guys were up for it, right? You get it, and you talk about that moment. You go in the bathroom and you're crying, and you're like, "Oh man!" And this is a moment where God reminds me that, you know, I'm on the right path, and I'm good enough.
Yeah.
Then you talk about getting the keys to the city.
Right.
Then there seems, correct me if I'm wrong, all right? There seems to be this like hole of stuff that happened.
Okay.
Where you were trying to figure things out, and you split with your partner, and you weren't sure what to do, right? And then sort of now we've got like YouTube success and all this other great stuff happening. So am I wrong? Am I missing something? Like, what happened in there?
Okay. No, you're not wrong at all. Have I talked a little bit about it? Okay, so in 2012 is when I won the Grammy, Key to City, all that happened that year, right? That's when it started to bubble up in me that I had a voice, because I've talked about this before. I was kind of, you know, the guy in the background, always just had the music ready. Never was like the guy in front of the camera, the guy talking. You know, my business partner at the time, he was that guy. Yeah. But we had different voices. We spoke about different things, and we built relationships differently. Yeah. And so when we split, like that 2013 to 2015 was us trying to figure out, or me trying to figure out, if that situation was where I needed to be, you know. And there were certain situations that kept us together. Like we redid our publishing deal with a major company, with Cobalt Music. I was previously with Universal Music Group, and it was a big deal, huge lump sum of money, more money I've ever seen in my life. And that was the second time. That was our re-up. That was our second term. And so, you know, like my best friend BD, he'd say like that was a Band-Aid on your relationship. You know, like all that money, I don't know where that money went within 18 months. Like, I was like, yo, what happened to all this shit? But we were trying to do so much. Like we were trying to, you know, sign artists. We were trying to do all these types of things to where it was like money was just going left and right. We were just trying things. Yeah. And nothing was working. We kept butting heads. And by 2015, I was like, it's been 10 years, bro. It's been a good ride. And it's, you know, I have a different calling. And he wasn't ready for that. He wasn't ready for that conversation. Wasn't ready for that, you know. And it was just kind of like cold turkey. He had all the relationships. He had all the contacts. He had all of this, and I just had the creative stuff, you know. So from 2015 to now, talking to almost 2019, I had to figure out who I was. I had to figure out what I was supposed to do. My brother is a technical consultant out here, and he has a firm, and they were trying to do a creative working space, not just a co-working space, but a creative working space. And we built it together. It's a place called Space Studio. And so 2016, we built this place called Space Studio. It's this huge, almost 5,000 square foot space where people could come in. There was a big studio. I mean, I had everything in there, all the top of the line gear. We had different, it was like this whole big thing. But then again, me and his business partner butt heads, because I was like, give it time. She just wanted it to work. And I just was like, we built it up, and then 6 months later it was gone. Like, it was just like, we didn't even give it time to manifest. And that was 2016. And by the end of 2016, I was like, I really didn't need all of that studio, because I was starting to do everything with this iPad. And so from 2016 and in 2017, last year, I did all of the adventures of beat making, trying to figure out my voice, all of that. 2018, this year, was literally just coming into my own, being completely myself, completely transparent, and really learning how to tell the story. So that's the gap, right?
Okay.
That's the gap between 2012 and now, and how that comes together.
So the Grammy was 2015? 2012. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, it's funny, right? Because, like, people get up on stage. You see it with artists all the time. You get up on stage, everybody's smiling, slapping each other's back. But backstage, it's a different story.
Right.
And that stuff's bubbling there for you and your partner.
Yep.
But you got this Grammy.
Yeah.
And that must have, not only was the money probably a Band-Aid, but getting a Grammy must have been a bigger band.
Yeah.
It must have been like an ace bandage, right? It must have been like,
And
we got this.
And then on top of that, it was like we got the Grammy. That was our third Grammy nomination when we got it. The next year we had another Grammy nomination for Kendrick Lamar, and that was for Album of the Year, and that didn't win. But so like we were still there the next year, 2013, and it was just kind of like we were just on this ride. But I just remember, the difference of emotions, right? I remember sitting there, like we had, they gave us floor seats, all that Grammys that next year. We're sitting there, Macklemore wins, and I have a, Macklemore came and spoke when I won the Grammy in 2012. He came and spoke to when I had a little conference in my city, right? Before he popped off. A year later, he's winning Album of the Year, right? And I'm like proud of him, but I was up with Kendrick Lamar, and I looked at my business partner. He's like, he's cussing, he's mad as shit. But I'm like, yo, dude, we're here. Like, we're so much further than we were a year ago.
Yeah.
And it was the difference of mind state where I was like, and this is a lot of times where I talk about, potential versus proven, and like, we have the potential to go here. And he's like, no, we should be here already. And we would just continue to butt heads from a moral standpoint, from just an ideological standpoint.
Yeah, half empty, and half full, right?
Right. And I was just like, all right, man. He didn't want to, well, not to bash any of that situation. It was just like, we just had difference of opinions in the way we looked at things. Sure. And I could tell that was one of the reasons I knew I needed to do something different.
All right, so I got two things for you. It's interesting because going back a few minutes, you said something interesting, like, he had this, he had that, and all I had was the creative.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting that you looked at it like, all I had was the creative.
Right.
Because you can have all the fucking contacts in the world, right? But if you can't get in there and make a beat and make magic happen with an artist, then you ain't got nothing.
You're right. But at the same time, if you said it's give and pull, because
you need that other side.
Right. And I had to learn that. I had to learn the hard way. I would go out, and I would literally just figure out ways to get uncomfortable and be like, I don't know anybody here, but I'm just going to try to be better at small talk. I started Uber driving, small talk. I was doing everything, small talks, and I got better at it because I knew that I had to get better at building relationships, being able to speak with people. And now they would have no idea that guy was like that 5 years ago. Like,
so wait. So you're a Grammy-winning producer.
Yeah.
Driving an Uber.
Yeah.
Was it literally, were you just doing that as an experiment to get yourself out, or like, hey, the money's gone?
So the money was going, right? And it was like, my kids are in private school. We needed extra stuff for this, extra stuff for that. And the connections weren't there. Like, I wasn't getting the placements that I was normally getting. So I wasn't getting the same type of royalties. I wasn't getting the same type of advances. And so there was an imbalance of our finances. And I was like, fuck it, I'll get on this Uber, I'll take the Cadillac and get the Uber in, and
how was that, dude? How was that? Tell me about that. Like, swallowing that pride. What was there swallowing? Maybe it was just like, fuck it, I'm going to jump in, or did it suck?
It took a little bit, right? It took a little bit, but I was like, I'll do anything for my family, right? Yeah. And before that, I had to sell some gear, I had to do some other things, like as far as like, like had things that I would normally hold on to that I let go of. And that's sometimes when you just like, you got to let go to, it's like you got to shed for new. You got to shed to make things bigger for yourself. And so I was shedding like, between 2015 and 2018, I shed a lot. And that's why it's like I can do everything I want to do with what I have now because I was shedding. So being in that car, and most of the time it was fine. But when you hop in and you pull up and you like there's clients and people that hopping in your car for you to Uber them around. They're like, wait, you're Ubering? I'm like, yeah, I am. And it's just a sense of letting go and being humble, and just like, you know what, this is just part of it. This is a part of it. You're going to get through this. So it was like, fuck it. I did it. And then like 6 months later, I don't have to do it anymore. But it was such an invaluable time where I was like, you know what? I learned so much about myself, so much about learning how to connect with people quick.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? Where are you from? This and that,
Yeah.
Oh, where are you going tonight? Like the quick questions, I never had them until I did that. So I needed that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's amazing, man. And I got to imagine as it does, it must have informed the music.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you gave obviously you were still creating.
Yeah.
Because that's in you.
Yeah.
So that thing, that grist is in you, right?
Yeah.
And you're trying to make it. I think one of the things that resonates with me so much about your story on a much different, my level is much different. I don't have the Grammy, whatever, but I make my living as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And so I have clients and whatnot. And like around that same time, 2014, I think it was for me financially, like my best. We got a house. My son was coming. We went a little bigger than our old place. And right. And it was like, oh yeah, we got the whole thing going now. And then that big job that I had like 2 or 3 big ones, but I had one real big one ended. I knew it was going to end. It had it had a term. And I was like, no problem. I'm the opposite. I'm like, Mr. Social. So I have a podcast. Right. And so Mr. Social, I was like, no problem. I'm going to market my way right into the next thing. Mm-hmm. Next thing didn't come.
Yeah.
2 months go by. 3 months go by. And if there was anything that year, and that was the same year I started the podcast sort of out of the ashes of like, I'll do this little thing on the side.
Right.
Until the next big job comes along. We'll see what happens. And it was like a year and a half of shit. I helped our carpenter, hang drywall, whatever, But it was humbling, and I sold everything, man. My bike, I sold gear, I sold all kinds of stuff. My wife was selling stuff. We got a baby, and all those voices and everything. Now, and then the woman that was helping me with the podcast and with filmmaking, she moved to LA because she needed to. She had to go. We live in a small town up here, and she did everything that she could do up here, and I was like, you got to get out of here. So. And I had been out in LA for 15 years. So I was like, you got to go do it. Anyway, but that whole process did the same for me. It made me strip everything down to its core, and sort of start finding my own voice, my own vision, shooting myself, doing everything myself again, and doing the podcast. And now things are swinging back up, working. And it's amazing. And
that's how it goes. Yeah.
And for me, that's a big part of what I like to talk to people about on the show, whether you're a sound engineer or a record producer or a guitar tech or whatever it is how people weather those storms.
Yeah.
What do you do?
And that's it.
Because behind you and I, there are a billion kids coming into this industry.
Yeah.
Film or music, right? And they just have they got the sunglasses on. They're ready to go.
Oh yeah.
They haven't. Life hasn't smacked them down yet.
Oh, it will.
Right. It will. It will.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to get out of people is like, so how did you find that? And again, going back to your faith, I know faith is a big thing for you. Yeah. Have you ever lost your faith? And if so, how do you get it back?
There was times like that year that I did the Space Studio, and it was so hard. And like I talked about, I was shedding everything, selling everything. It was like, I was like, why? Why is this happening? Like, why is it taking so long? You know what I mean? Like, and then when like that whole studio, like it was just done, I was like, yo, what am I supposed to be doing? And I mean, I just remember like, never forget being like, my son is in first grade, about to go to second grade, and we had a balance on his tuition, and they're like, yo, if he doesn't, you don't bring the balance in by whatever, he's not going to be able to, get to second grade. I pick him up from school, and he's like, I'm so excited, second grade's about to start. And the tears, and I'm driving, and the tears, and I was just like, I couldn't turn back, and I would be excited for him, because I was like, how the fuck am I going to do this? You know what I mean?
I do.
Luckily, luckily, I was broken at, like, that was part where I was like, I'm broken, and I'll do whatever. And luckily, my parents called, and they were like, what is wrong? And I just lost it. You know what I mean? And they're like, don't worry. Jonathan will be fine. You'll be able to get him in school. You'll be fine. And it was just like, cool. Like, I got y'all. Don't worry. Like, they're like, no, like, this is why we raised you the way we raised you. Like, everything is okay. And it was just kind of like, you got to be broken to be built back. And that was the point where I was like, okay, something's gonna happen from all of this. And that's why I give it so much away, because I'm like, I love to see the young guys. Like you said, with the sunglasses on, they're ready to go. And a lot of them get successful so early. And I'm like, shit. And I'm like, I look at my son, and he wants to be a YouTuber. He wants to be a gamer. And I'm looking at all these guys, and I'm like, I thought about getting him started now. And I'm like, what happens when he's 18 and he's already popping and he's like the guy? And it's like, he doesn't even know who he is as a man yet. Right. And then he has a horrible, 22, and he's getting involved in the wrong shit just because he has the access and he has the funds and he has these. And I'm like, I'm scared of all of that, because I see being in the industry, being around some of these guys, I'm like, yo, this shit can get, I mean, I see it all the time, and I'm like, you can't even see what 30 looks like, and you're 25, and I'm like, so it's tough when you're all the way broken down, but like finding faith, and finding it back is just, it's day by day, it's day by day, and trying to be consistent with just being like spiritual or whatever you are, or just committing to like little things, like being more positive to yourself, or, being more, more focused on things that'll help you. Like maybe, being more in tune with your health, or more in tune with, like little things that'll keep your mind right and keep your sanity. 'Cause you lose your sanity, man, and it's all bad. It's over.
I know.
It's all bad.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about young artists. Let's talk about young producers. Okay.
Okay.
And let's throw out some things that can be tangible for them, in terms of everybody's fighting to get the gig.
Yeah.
Right? You got your mixtape, whatever it is, however you're getting the job. And I know you've put out a video about getting the job, how to market yourself properly and stuff like that. A lot of people talk about that. Let's talk about, now you've got the job. Right? Now I mean, without naming anything, I just had a meeting yesterday, 2 days ago, with a new client. And there's going to be some stuff that I haven't done before. I didn't tell them that, right? I was like, yeah, I got that. That's no problem. Henny's got a video I can watch.
Right. Can I
do it on my iPad? I got this, man. And so let's talk about, for young producers, what are a few key things? Now you've got the job. Here's the next step.
It's not, to me, going, like, even if, the whole question of what if I could tell my 20-year-old self something, it goes back to like learning how to build and maintain the relationships, because you got the job, right? So they like you to a certain degree. They're willing to invest in you or whatever. How do you repeat that business? Or how do you allow them to speak on you so candidly that somebody else wants to work with you? Because you have enough skill to get the job. Now it's like, okay, how do I work on building, personal skills, interpersonal skills, learning how to build relationships, stay in contact with people, engage with others. And I think you can do a lot of that with, the things that you're doing now, right? If you're a young person, you're on social media, I see so many guys just look at me versus, hey, this is what I'm doing, but how can I help you?
Sure.
So, one of the first things you should do as a producer, as a songwriter, somebody in the background, like, how else can I add value to your situation? What are the other things that I could do to add value? So I got the gig. I'm a producer. Now, maybe I should have relationships with musicians, maybe, guitar players, bassists. Maybe I'm just a guy who knows how to drum program. You need to be able to add value. Oh, yeah, I know a guy who plays sax. Oh, yeah, I know a guy who knows how to write string arrangements. Like, these are, as a producer, you're supposed to be the guy, the leader, the person that they can call on for whatever. Oh, I know a good engineer. I know a good songwriter. But that comes from you being able to have good relationship building skills. How do you do that? You just got to work on it and try to get yourself out there to wherever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you do it. You just have to be able to build the relationships and try to figure out how to maintain those, or at least engage with people over and over again, so that, you get comfortable and they get comfortable with you and you can get repeat business.
Yeah. And also on a practical level, like, okay, so you got the gig. Now you're in the studio with an artist that you've been wanting to work with. Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe it's something you haven't, but it's a job.
Now, if
do's and don'ts. Let's get some do's and don'ts.
Yeah. Studio etiquette is very key, right? If you're in the studio, you're a producer, and you finally get the chance to be in the studio with an artist that you admire. One, understand that they allowed you to be there because they trust your work, but they might not trust your circle. So maybe not bring everybody with you. First point, right?
Because they're going to bring everybody, probably. Right?
Yeah, they're gonna bring their folks. They just want you. So if it's you and your manager, okay. Now, if it's you, your manager, you're bringing your girl or your boys or some other videographer to catch your side of the story or anything to just make yourself look bigger. That's a no-no, right? Be engaging to the point where you're like, how do I help you? How do I help you? Don't be so caught up on, okay, so you want me for me, that, you get on your ego. Because I've been in situations where you're in the room with the artist that you want to work with and you can rub them the wrong way and they'll say, hey, that's cool. I'll book another room for me. You just keep doing you in there. And that's when that's when they don't want to be around you. They just want your music. You want to be able to at least have the energy to say, okay, cool. When you get in there, you walk in the room. If the engineer's there before the artist, hey, engineer, how you doing? What's your name? Where are you from? How long you been in the business? Some. Build a relationship with the guys that are in the room. If the artist isn't being as receptive to you, but his people are, build relationships with the people around them. I've had great success building relationships with the artists, their friends and their colleagues and whatever. Yeah. And that allows me to get further along than sometimes just going straight with the artist. And, you can kiss their ass, but, don't overdo it either,
Right.
Know that, you have some skills and work your way up to, when it comes to like, if you're new and they don't necessarily, they respect your sound, but they may not respect your voice, build yourself up to having the talks about, certain creative ideas, because this artist, they know themselves. If they're successful, they know what they want to do. They brought you in for a reason. And so they might not want all your, well, you should do it like this, and I have this idea for you. They'll be like, it's too much too soon, So build your way up to being able to, have conversations with those artists.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
You got the daily grind of being a pretty successful YouTuber right now.
Yeah.
You got guys like me wanting you on their show, picking your brains. You're a family guy. 3 kids, right?
Two kids. Two kids. Boy, yep.
Adorable, by the way.
Thank you.
That
Thank
M50, the Canon M50 video you did with them in the car, that was awesome.
That was with my niece as well in the car. So
that was cute, man. You're a husband.
Yep.
You are teaching still at Morehouse?
I am.
What do you teach at Morehouse?
I'm teaching music technology and online branding.
Of course.
So it works. It works very well. I mean, it's a walk in the park. No, but it's cool. It's cool. I'm glad that they
watch my video this week. I'm out.
I don't know. Maybe that work. I just like the interaction. I really do.
And you also have a new venture, right, with a music company that they approached you and asked you to be their chief marketing officer. Talk about that a little bit, because what I ultimately want to get to, and then you're still producing. Yes. How the fuck are you handling all this stuff? How do you juggle it?
Okay, so well, to be up to date, I am not working with BeatStars anymore. It was too much for me.
It was like 3 weeks, dude. That was like 3 weeks.
Yeah. So the CEO, he wanted more from me than we just didn't. Once again, we didn't meet eye to eye. I wanted to give him my all, and I don't think we just didn't meet to where we needed to meet. And I just was like, I got a call from a guy, TLD, Jonathan Morrison, who wanted me to do that, that thing with him on the iPad. Yeah. And around the same time, we were trying to figure out what to do with, the company and being a CMO and all of this. And I was like, this dude is calling me to fly me out to do this whole thing on the iPad. I got to do this. And so I went and did it. And by the time that shit came out, he was just like, you don't even, he was kind of upset that I'm taking too much time to do YouTube and do this. And I was like, this is what I want to do,
But what's fascinating about that? I bet you if you weren't doing YouTube, he wouldn't have contacted you.
Period.
Right? I mean,
period. Yeah. And, initially when we got together and I told him, I said, I got to be able to do me still. And it was just kind of like, some people will say yes, but then they'll be like, well, not a full yes. Like, I still want you to do all of this. And I was like, I've never had a day job a day in my life. I'm still trying to figure this out. And it was hell for me, just trying to figure out like how to balance it all.
Sure.
And regardless of how much money it was, which was a super amount, it wasn't enough because I was getting away from the engagement. I was getting away from the community. I was getting away from my peace. And I was like, the money's not worth my peace,
right?
And I could already tell that if I continued to go down that path, all of what I built up would suffer tremendously. And just like that, I did the video with Jonathan Morrison, and I'm like, I had the hugest spike in my YouTube, 10,000 followers within the last 3 weeks. Yeah. And I was like, this is insane. And it's just God telling you, stay on the course. Don't worry about always trying to get to the money so fast.
Right.
And so that's one thing that's not on my plate anymore. But it was too much. It was too much.
So, Henny, how awesome is your wife?
Oh, she's the best.
I mean,
the absolute best.
Dude, she's hung in there, huh?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I could not do any of this without her. And she's just like, you need the yin and the yang. She's the one who's going to always be on it and just be so like aggressive with like everything with our kids and parenting. And like when there's an issue or there's something wrong, I'm not the confrontational guy. I'm like, she's like, no, we got to. I'm like, all right, cool. So that works very well for us. But more importantly, we're just really, really good friends, and we have teamwork going very strongly, you know. So, you know, like regardless of you know, her working, you know, doing everything, I'm still here until about 2, and then I go get the kids from 2 to 5, and then if I have a studio session from 8 to 12, I mean, we just kind of work it, and it just works out. And so she's the best, and yeah, it's just like she's been there for it all since I was 21. We've been together since I was 21. Yeah, since we were both 21. Yeah.
Wow, that's epic, man.
Yeah, man.
That's amazing. So, that is amazing.
Yes, sir.
What's been the most? What's been the best thing that's happened since the YouTube thing for you?
Wow. The comments, the good old comments. It's when you get the comments that are like, yo, you're helping change in my whole situation, or this was the video that I needed. This helped change my whole day. This thing spoke to me. You know, those are the things that you can't put a number on. You can't say it was at this subscriber count that I got this. I was getting comments that were good in the early days. I'm getting comments now, and I'll probably get comments that are great, you know, 5 years from now. But it's like, if you stick to being able to focus on the community and not just the rise of your subscriber count, it'll make you like, that's what makes me want to do this every day. Like every day, try to respond to every comment, engage with every email that I can, is because you never know who you're helping. You never know if that person's going to help you. You never know what's going to change your whole life because you became part of this community. And you didn't just take it as, thank you, appreciate the subscribe. Right. All right, thank you for that like. And then that was it, you know? So that in itself is just, I get so much joy from that just because I know that it's beyond, you know, what YouTube can do for me from a financial standpoint or, you know, a fame standpoint or whatever. Yeah. It's like you're actually doing good work, you know?
Yep.
So, yeah.
What's the worst thing that's happened?
Man, it really points out who you are. Like, I think it's a good and a bad, right? Because it shows, you know, little things about myself where I'm just like, you know, like being on front of the camera, you get really like you can get yourself in a hole and you're like, I don't want to do this shit no more. Like if you're starting out and you're like, you know, people are commenting on like, you know, what you do with your mannerisms or how you talk with your hands or how you speak on that, and everything's going to point out that detail. Oh, did you lose weight? Or, oh, what happened to that? Or what's going on with this? Or, you know, oh, I hope you can get your beard shaped up better. Or I've seen all types of comments. I'm like, whoa, what's up with my beard? Right. So, I mean, like 100 comments that are great will always get negated by one negative, and you just be like, God damn. Yep. You know, or the little things that are like, you know, earlier on, I did a little bit more cussing in my videos, and I didn't, you know, a guy told me, it's like, you know, I love your videos, I love your passion, and I would love to show this to my son, but he's only 14, and I do not want to show your videos to him because you're doing too much cursing. And I was like, fuck. All right, well, shit. Let me try to tone it down.
I'm fucking sorry, like, man.
So all of that, right? And it's those are some of the things that are like, it just shows you who you are, and it's like you got to work on. It makes you work on yourself,
right?
We
can't all be Gary Vaynerchuk.
No, we can't. And I mean, I love what he does, but I'm just like, I do appreciate when somebody says that. I'm like, and I take that to heart. Like, okay, cool. Not everybody has that type of language in their household. So, shit, it is what it is.
You know, it's funny, because I know you don't curse a lot in the videos, like if at all, right? Or sometimes you'll cover it with like an emoji thing. And I was like, oh man, because on this show, there's a lot of F-bombs that get dropped.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I was like, oh, I hope he's not offended if I drop one early on. You've come out of the gate.
No, I'm like, I cuss all the time. I have to really work on that.
Right.
Because I'm like, I'm really thinking about that. And I think about that comment every time.
Right.
You know? And so when you think about the worst things that happen, it's not the worst, but it's like, you know, you got to think about like, well, damn, like you are, you know, you're out here for people. So, and you're building this thing up, not just for you, but for others. And so, you know, I got to take a lot of the comments seriously. So, yeah.
Man, you know, it's funny is that I got a negative comment a couple weeks back. And, you know, Vaynerchuk talks about, you listen to a lot of his stuff?
Yeah, I do.
You know, he talks about, he's like, how can someone think about how sucky their life is, you know, that they can take the time.
Right.
I got a comment that was like, this interview is shit. You're bullshit. You know, whatever. It was like the first real sort of negative thing I got.
Negative. Yeah. Yeah.
And my first instinct was to respond back, like, you know, what are you
go
doing?
hard.
What are you offering?
Right.
You know? And I didn't. I think I deleted it, which I probably shouldn't have. But there was a new part of me that was like, all right, I got a fucking negative comment.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So I did that last video, right, where I showed this whole space.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, I'm not getting any negative comments. What the fuck? Right? Like, I'm not getting any thumbs downs. And like, I watched this dude named Potato Jet, right?
Yeah, I like that guy too.
Yeah. And he was talking about the difference, like you got to have a good balance between good comments and bad comments. You don't want all good and you don't want all bad. And it's like, I was like, yo, I got like 500 likes and no dislikes. Like, this isn't good. Like, I got to do something wrong here. And so, I mean, no, like the negative comments, some people are like, there's no way that the iPad can, like when the iPad videos, there's so many people that just come out for you, you know?
Sure.
But it's just like.
Because it's crazy, by the way. It is crazy when you think about what you can do.
Right.
Right, with that thing. It is pretty crazy. Yeah. And you've taken it to a phenomenal level. And you must have, I mean, I know you talked about it on Diavella's show. You know, when you walk into studios and you're pulling out your iPad and your little keyboard, they must look at you like, who the fuck is this guy? Talk about producer, talk about artists being like, you go play with your little toy over there. I'll be in my studio doing my shit with, you know, with Dre.
and you know, I still get that to a certain degree, but it's getting more acceptable, right? Sure. There's a lot more that's, you know, it's kind of like auto-tune on a vocal, right? It's just acceptable now. Before it's like, I don't need that. Now it's like everybody uses it. Right. So it's like over time, I know it's, you know, it's going to become more and more acceptable, but yeah, it took a while for people to be like, hey, like, can you really do everything though? Can you really produce a whole album? And I'm like, yeah, you could. Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, if you, hey, people will always they're always gonna be that way. But you know, I just accept the fact that I'm going to always be an early adopter. I'm always going to be one of the guys who's going to be willing to test shit out and be like, fuck, why'd I do that? Yeah. Why do I install iOS 12? That was such a fail, right? But if I don't learn, like a lot of the blessings came from learning through those struggles and learning through, you know, how to figure things out. And that's just life in general, right? You just got to go take a chance, take a risk and get, you know, find out what the bullshit is and get through it. Yep. So, yeah.
Henny, it's 2019.
Yeah.
What do we got on the horizon? You got any, are you a what the hell they call this? You know,
New Year's resolution guy?
Resolution. Are you a resolution guy? What do you got, man?
No, I mean, I was, and then I was like, yo, if you have a resolution, just start it when you feel it. Right. Like if you're trying to want to lose weight, just start that shit now. You know, like you still got a week and a half to get started. And I started thinking of like that way 3 weeks ago, but like, I always have this thing around this time of year where I just reflect on what I've done, what I was able to do in the year, the shortcomings and the great things that have happened, and try to see how I can take it up a notch. So you know, with YouTube, like I want to go even harder. You know, I'm going to, you know, just try to widen my space, maybe show a little bit more. Little things about just maybe getting to like collaborating more, you know, doing these types of things more, which is awesome because you reach a whole new audience and stuff like that. And just, you know, like really being more focused on just making good decisions and trying to help show that it's possible, you know, because the more that I do this and the more successful that I get, hopefully I will keep showing the steps of how I got there and not just, oh, he just went, you know, and it's just like, no, dude, this is what happened and this is how it happened. And so I'm glad that you asked me about that gap that, you know, that might not have been spoken about too much on my videos, because that was a time where I was just like, and a lot of it, just to be clear, was like, I don't say embarrassing, but a lot of it sometimes is just kind of like, I'm just trying to get past that. You know, some of those things I was just trying to get past to be able to speak on it and be comfortable, because I know that I'm completely out of those things. And, you know, when you can speak on it, you know, you're out of that shit. So going harder, you know, collaborating more and just, you know, doing as much as I can, because if somebody asked me, why did I start this YouTube for real? It's because I got a kid and, you know, I got a son who just looks at it and he's like, Daddy, how many subscribers you got now? Okay, cool. So, all right. Cause he watches, like, that's all he watches is YouTube. And I'm like, I do it so my son can be like, oh, damn, you know, wow, this is like it. I was like, dude, you see how it's growing? You see how this shit is just moving? You see how you do a collaboration video, how the shit just gets popping? You know, like, you just got to keep going.
He must be so psyched, because now you're one of those guys, right?
And he gets excited. I mean, but, you know, he doesn't watch my shit, but it's cool. I mean, he watches the gamers. You know, he hears me. You know, and he knows exactly what I'm doing.
Your video watching the Apple keynote was unbelievable.
And it was funny because I was like, am I going to record myself? Fuck it, I'm going to record myself. And then I was just watching, and then I watched myself back. I'm like, wow, I'm intense.
I got some problems.
But that's what I'm talking about. Like, you go back and you look at yourself, you're like, good shit.
I know.
But I'd say that to say, like, becoming a YouTuber has also bred us so much more confidence in everything that I do. I can walk around, talk however I want, be however I am, because I'm fully transparent with my audience and how I do stuff. And it allows me to just be me all the time, even more than I ever was. And so, you know, that's one of the biggest things that people don't understand. When you start to do this and you're like, shit, this is just who I am. Yep. I mean, if you love it, you love it. And that's if you do it to a way where you're just you know, you're like, this is who I am, fuck it, you know?
Right.
And, you know, a lot of people just want to go and get a YouTube channel and just get to, you know, rise into the top. And then they're just following everybody else's moves. Now take a little idea from there and a little idea from there. But, you know, more importantly, figure out who you are and what you like, and understand that you'll build your shit up, even if it's very small. Like you're saying, I got to find my niche. I got to find, you know, what's going to get my groove going. Yeah. It's like I took being an iOS guy trying to make beats on it. That was a very small niche, you know, but I was like, I started there and then I kept widening it. And people are like, are you going to talk about this? Are you going to talk about that? I'm like, in due time. I don't want to just say, now I'm a tech reviewer out of nowhere. Right. You know, that space is completely crazy. So, you know, just take it piece by piece and, you know, have a good time with it and just make sure that, you know, it's always add value. It's always add value. Yeah, man. For sure.
Good.
Yeah.
I want to keep you a couple more minutes if you got it. I just want to know. So you got a Grammy.
Yep.
You know, after a Grammy, what's the next thing for you? Is there a musical thing? YouTube aside, all that stuff. You still out there creating. So like, is it a person you want to work with, or a group you want to work with? Like, what's the thing?
Man, that was so. When you talk about that video, right, of me sitting there at 3:00 in the morning and not knowing where I was going, right? Because I'm sitting there and I'm like, I haven't made a beat in forever. Right. The fuck. And I'm sitting there like, yo, am I supposed to be doing music anymore? Like, I was really in my head, and I'm like, this YouTube thing is working, but is this it? Like, am I supposed to just be a speaker? Should I be trying to do a TED Talk? You know,
it's so amazing that you put that out there, because that video was so different than like you sitting there. Here's how I use the iPad, right? Here's a tech, right? It was just like this raw, emotional thing. This guy just at 3 a.m, you know, just like, what the fuck am I doing? It was brilliant.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I was like, something told me just get the camera out and just say it because somebody else might need to hear this. Because I was I was like pleading like to the community that I'm building. Hopefully y'all fuck with me if I don't do a whole bunch of that other shit, you know, because I'll get comments like, yo, what's up with all this Lumafusion shit? Where's the beats?
Right.
You know? And I'm like, where are the beats?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so, like, for me, I'm thinking to like, you know, I know that I've been doing music so long that it's never going anywhere. But right now it's just kind of like, it's just a transition. It's a pivot. I pivoted into something different, but do I want to get producer of the year non-classical as a Grammy? Hell yes. That means I killed it that year as a music producer. But am I only a music producer anymore? Right. You know? And so it's like, what, you know, I have to give myself space to know that I'm bigger than just that one thing that I was, you know, and that one dream that I had when I was 11, you know, and go back and be like, at that same time, I grabbed my dad's camcorder and we were recording gangster videos with me and my best friends. So the camera was always there. The music was always there. I was always doing random shit. It was all there. And so, like, you never know if you give yourself enough time to just figure it out where you're supposed to go. And so musically, it's still there. I don't, you know, I get, you know, I'm in sessions. I still have, you know, I consult for people. I'm creating, I'm producing, but yeah, I don't, the goal as far as like what's next, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just trying to inspire. You know?
That's
for
awesome,
sure.
man.
Yeah.
Henny, man, I can't thank you enough. This has been fantastic.
Right on.
And I appreciate you giving me your time. And again, I wish you the best in 2019. And I hope to see if you ever come to New York area.
Yeah.
Hit me up. All right.
I'm hitting you up for sure.
Hit me up. I wish you the best, dude. Thank you again for doing this. You rock, dude.
Hey man, I appreciate you having me. This is always fun.
All right, so that's it, guys. 2018 is in the can. I want to thank you so much for an incredible year. As we look forward to next week, we've got musician, producer, engineer, and the creator of Mixdown Online, Mr. Chris Salim, on the show. You can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Podcast, YouTube, and Spotify, all as Roadie Free Radio. Check out the website, roadiefreeradio.com. Send me a note because you know I want to hear from you. That's info@roadiefreeradio.com. Guys, be safe, be well, lots of love, peace out, and in the meantime, y'all be safe out there. No roadies, no rock and roll.